Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Zoomland. So this workshop, it's going to be held at this time over the semester, the same time for the next 13 weeks or so, 12 weeks. So it's scheduled for 3 hours. That ain't happening. I would not put you through that. That would just be absolute torture, listening to my voice for 8 hours. I mean, 3 hours. Oh God, 8 is even worse. All right, so this session, it's going to be a shorter session. It's more of an introduction, orientation. Oh my God, Cameron, have you got a glass of wine? Oh, lucky you. Okay, so just an introduction. And at the end of the workshop, there's going to be some time for you to ask some questions and things as well. So this, because this is a postgraduate unit, as part of the Zoom session, there's really going to be a big focus on critical inquiry and critically reflective discussions. So about the readings, learning activities, and prompts and questions that were posed in the pre-workshop tasks. So these discussions are integrated with shared experiences, so your teaching experiences. There'll be PowerPoint slides, as you can see, to prompt discussions. And we're also going to have quite a lot of support around your assessment task as well. So I really hope that you take the time to complete the readings as well, because that's going to make a very big difference in terms of learning outcomes. Okay, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners, pay respect to the traditional owners of the lands where QUT now stands. So some expectations and etiquette for our Zoom sessions. Of course, respectful participation. You will have the opportunity to go into breakout groups from time to time. So being courteous and engaged with your partner or people in your group is very important. Making sure that you mute your microphone when you're not speaking. When you're not speaking, that would be good. Very important because, as I said, I have decided to record this workshop, that you consider that you're professional and you don't disclose any personal names or when we're sharing stories. So confidentiality is really important. Generally, as you would have noticed, I respond to emails well within that 24 hours, except on the weekend and public holidays. I'm a very keen hiker, so I'm generally out of range on the weekends. So very important as well, I want you to contact me with any questions about your learning or your assessment, very much, as I'm going to talk about my professional beliefs soon. Communication is a very important to me. So excellent. All right. So from my email discussion with you, many of you are new to Zoom. So I want to go through. So those of you who are very familiar, please bear with us. I just want to make sure that everyone's feeling confident in how to use the forum. So as I said, first up, make sure you set your mic to mute when you're not talking, especially seeing as we're recording this session. When you want to share or participate, just unmute your mic. Never be afraid of interrupting me. Just say, hey, Ange. You're very welcome to interrupt me to ask a question or make a comment. I very much encourage that. So I'd like you to make sure that you can use the chat function. I'd just like you to do a quick hi in the chat function to make sure that you know how to do that. So just type hi or hello in there. Beautiful. Excellent. Very good. Okay. So in the chat function, you can also reply yes or no to any questions posed, or tell me if you're going to have to go away for a period of time. So if you're feeling comfortable with the chat function, give me a thumbs up. Send me a thumbs up. Beautiful. Excellent. Okay, so finally, this is mainly because of lockdown. Some of my students got a bit lax with their attire during COVID in lockdown, and this also extends to family and to flatmates, so no streaking. Seriously, things got a bit out of hand during lockdown, so I feel that I do have to mention this. I did have some first years suggesting that at 8 a.m. in the morning in a workshop that we should be doing drinking games. So that tells you the extent where everyone was at that period of time. But thankfully, I think things have calmed down quite a bit, and online learning has gone back to being civilized, I hope. Okay. Any questions at all about any of the functions? No, it's pretty straightforward. Another thing as well, like I regularly try and check the chat, but if I've missed an important message, please speak up and tell me. So Zoom is a fabulous platform. You know, it facilitates learning through the use of PowerPoints, content, documents, and online resources. So it has the function to move into breakout groups. We can use Think, Pair, Share. So it's very much like a classroom environment. All right, so attending Zoom sessions as often as possible is really important, because it really is important that you have that contact with your colleagues, with your study colleagues. And I think that's really important to make you feel part of the QUT environment. It really helps you feel part of the community, especially if you join with your video. So come prepared, don't be afraid to speak up, and make sure you join in. So whether that be through the chat or verbally. Last online learning point, make sure you try not to get behind in your readings and your learning tasks. This is really important. I know it's easy to procrastinate and to lose focus, but especially a lot of you are working full-time or part-time, you have families as well. So a little bit every week really makes it a lot easier and less chance of you getting too stressed. Okay, enough of that. Right, so in this workshop, as I said, we're going to be focusing on orientation to the unit and orientation to each other. We'll be working towards establishing our community of practice, and that's going to be through introducing ourselves and sharing a bit about our background and interests. And we're also going to have a look at the Blackboard site and take a moment to share some initial thoughts on curriculum and pedagogy. And I want to hear about your experiences with early childhood curriculum, or possibly primary or secondary curriculum in your current or previous teaching context. So finally, we're going to do an overview of your assessment for the unit with some important timeframes for completion. Any questions about any of those points? Anything that's not there that you were hoping that I was going to cover this evening? We can always have a further chat and you can tell me later on. Okay, so a community of practice, as outlined by Wenger, it's about bringing people from a similar vocation and a place of interest, bringing them together, so to share and to explore their perspectives, and also their key ideas that they work with in their learning context. So the aim will be a deep and rich discussion about pedagogy and curriculum. So it's also about establishing relationships, communication, and of course, respect as well. So first up, I just want to introduce and tell you a little bit about myself, so you're not just listening and looking at a face that you know nothing about. And then I'm going to hand it over to you and give you a few moments to tell us a bit about yourselves. So I initially did my teacher training here at QUT. I did a graduate diploma, so the 2-year course. First up, I did a Bachelor of Film, and I worked in publishing for several years. Until then, I did education, and I worked as an early childhood teacher and primary teacher for about 13 years across different grades. So I completed my PhD in 2014, and I've been lecturing and researching at QUT since then. So I also facilitate workshops throughout Queensland. I facilitate the Mentoring Beginning Teacher program. Is anyone familiar with the MBT within their schools in Queensland? So this is a Queensland initiative where beginning teachers in that first year, that 200 days prior to their full registration, they have a mentor to support them. So it's not linked to assessment, it's to support them in that first year. The research that I did, especially within retention and professional identity, really said that that first year with beginning teachers is when we really have issues with losing teachers, the problems with retaining them. And there are many reasons behind that. And I have noticed that some of you are actually wanting to explore teacher professional identity as well, which is pretty exciting. So my current research at QUT is around supporting, around using reflexive practices to support diverse learners. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. My personal philosophy has always been around individual students. So as an early childhood teacher, a primary teacher, and also as teaching in higher education. So making contact with you all, making sure I have a good understanding of exactly what it is that you're interested in, where you're coming from, and where you want to go to as well. So some of the information that you've given me, I've added extra readings to QUT readings. I've also added some other content as well to some of the week's PowerPoints. So I think I've said this before, but something that's really important is I really want you to make sure that you keep in contact with me. If you do have any questions about your assessment task, contact me early. Don't feel like you're there on your own. So what I want you to do is I'm just going to go through, I've got my roll here. Not all of you are going to be here, obviously. We do have 25. There are a total of about 65 students in the unit. So I think 25 students here this evening is a pretty good run. So basically, as it says on the screen, I want you to share an interest that you have around early years. A lot of you have emailed me already with a specific area that you would like to focus on with your assessment task. So let's start with Warren. Are you able to just share your specific focus? I know we discussed it earlier, but we've had a few people come on board since then. Just very briefly.
Sure, very briefly. Excuse me. So I've been involved in the early childhood sector in Australia, particularly for the last 4 years. Before that, I was teaching in Japan, same type of field for about 10, 11 years. So what I'm trying to do is to synthesize which I consider pretty successful outcomes to what Australia is trying to achieve. And what has piqued my interest is the professional development of educators and teachers. A lot of companies, and I don't like to use that term in particular, but companies that run the industry, they always push for professional development, but never give resources or finances or time for effective professional development. And I want to investigate further and find out why. Is it a financial reason? Is there, I don't know. That's why I'm going further into it. I understand that there's financial reasons and implications, but surely investment in professional development will get better returns.
Excellent.
So what we're looking at, yeah.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you very much for sharing. Aisha, do we have Aisha there tonight? What about Audi? Drew Appleton? Zoe Barber? Amelia Bassett? Cindy Barbosa?
Yes, I'm here.
I thought I saw your name. Excellent.
Yeah.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, everybody. I trained as a secondary teacher like 12 years ago or so, but really haven't ever worked in education. So at this stage, I still don't really know what to focus on because I'm sort of still sitting in the background a little bit. So I guess I'm keen to hear what other people have got to say that might maybe pique an interest, get me started in some areas, even, doing some of the readings that's sort of given me some ideas, but yeah, still very much a grey area for me at the moment.
You're not alone. Cindy, that's, there are quite a few students that are still thinking, and we've got quite a few students from secondary education as well that haven't really had a lot of experience in early childhood and are here for many reasons to develop their understanding. So, we're, I think, engaging with the readings and with each other, having a look on the Padlet. So your ideas, I want you to start posting them on the Padlet as well, the collaboration Padlet. That's going to, it'll give you an idea if other people are looking at similar areas. You may be able to exchange emails and get to know each other and share references, share understandings, share perspectives. That's what it's all about, making those connections, networking. Thank you very much, Cindy. That's great.
Thank you.
So we have Sarah Beneventi. Is she here today, Sarah?
So
Yes.
it's actually, it's Sarah Benvenuti. It's Italian.
Benvenuti. Thank you.
Yep. So no worries. So I originally started in childcare centres after I finished school. I worked there for a couple of years while I did my Cert 3 diploma. And then I went through university to do a Bachelor of Education specialising in early years. And I've been teaching in prep grade 1 and grade 2 for the last 7 years. Started my master's last year. I'm really interested in that link, I suppose, when children go from childcare centres to kindy and then into our prep system, just smoothing that, like making the link very smooth and the transition very smooth, I suppose. Also very interested in parent engagement in the early years. And last year I learned all about age-appropriate pedagogies. Excellent. Which I think, I might actually focus on that for my assessment task. It links up with a bit of the readings and things I'm doing.
Yeah, so that's a curriculum document. So you would also need to unpack the early years learning framework as well as our national curriculum document. But that's excellent. Like I saw your interest in parent engagement, which is something that's very close to my heart as well. I think it's very important in not just early childhood settings, but primary and secondary as well. I think it can be terribly neglected in secondary. Thank you very much, Sarah.
No worries.
Okay, Leisha Broxton.
Hello. Sorry, I can't get the video working. There's something.
That's okay. That's all right.
I've got a security issue with my computer, obviously.
Oh, no.
Is
there a particular area that you're specifically interested in the early years at all, Leisha?
There is. I've come from a secondary background and I'm looking at inclusivity of all children, particularly those with a disability. and how they're being catered for in the early years, particularly when you look from a secondary perspective, that the catering of those children becomes very ad hoc.
Mm.
And depending on whether they're in a childcare centre or where the children are, is how they're being catered for in those years.
And you're hoping to work in the prep to 3 area?
In the prep to 3 area.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Excellent. Thank you very much, Leisha. That's wonderful. Simonetta, we got Simonetta here tonight. What about Gatika? Ashley Christmas. I know you're here.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
I come from a rural background, lived on stations and that, and I haven't quite, locked down one, but I'm more interested in the remote rural children having access, I guess. It's hard for kids, especially kindy kids, to have access to kindergartens out here. So yeah, I haven't quite narrowed it down yet, but something in that area.
That's a great focus. It really is. When I saw that, I thought that would be fabulous. And so I guess you just need to really work out exactly where you want to go with that and how you're going to link it to the early years learning framework. So yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. Amy Collins.
So I have a Bachelor of Education in early childhood and primary degree. I've been working in early childhood for the last 10 years. The last 6 I've been a preschool teacher. So I'm in New South Wales, so it's a little bit different. Age is a little bit different there for people in Queensland. So around the 4 to 5s. I'm very interested in outdoor play and risky play.
Excellent.
I'm a nature play mentor as well. So
What was that? You're a
nature play mentor.
Nature play mentor. Excellent.
Yeah. So just looking at how educators change their perception around advocating for risky play and nature play. I think that's.
Oh, Amy, that's a great focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got, and there's some really good recent literature in that area as well, literature and research. And you're currently going through your assessment and rating at the moment. Oh,
Yeah,
how's that going?
Just finished. Thank
Oh,
you.
wow.
Yeah. So fingers crossed everything's all good.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Okay. Have we got Tanika here tonight? Alexa? We've got Angela. Angela Dickens is here. Where are you, Angela?
Yep, I'm here. Yep, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, so I've been teaching for about 14, 15 years now. And I've moved around a bit between Queensland, WA, and I'm in New South Wales now. Obviously, having had kids, I've come back in a job share situation for the last few years, which I love. It just gives you so much. There's so many pros, there really are. But I have noticed in the last couple of years, we've had some trying little behaviors, not necessarily special needs. We've had those too, but the other little ones that just need a little bit of extra guidance. And just watching their interaction and how they behave in my class, when my days and in my friends' teaching partners' days, and it's just made me think, like, and I shouldn't say this because I'm a job share teacher, but how efficient is job sharing for kids? Not having that routine and structure, especially in the KD2 setting. Obviously KD2, KD2. And it's just made me query ways in which I could do it better, really. I just don't know how I'm going to link it to the curriculum. It's more a pedagogical approach type thing.
No, that's right. There will be ways and means, Angela. Don't you worry about that. We'll sort that out. there's always ways to link it to the curriculum and, to pedagogical frameworks as well. And there are, it will link in nicely to the second part of your assessment task as well, where you're looking for an action plan. So how you're actually going to implement any particular changes through professional development, through inquiry with other colleagues in your context. So, that sounds good. I think that would fit in really nicely. I guess the most important thing is to start looking for literature and research in that area,
Yeah.
and just to, hone it in. And you'll see something, it'll come to you and think, oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And sounds good.
There's quite a lot of research in the area of co-teaching. They seem to do that quite a bit with like a learning support or a speech pathologist co-teaching with the teacher. Which would be amazing. Like, imagine having a full-time speechy in your class would be awesome.
I guess you could be looking at as well, like in terms of the curriculum, the way teachers read curriculum and use it individually. So within the one context, that might be a good focus. Excellent. It sounds like you're well and truly on the way. Do we have Matt here? Matt Eastman. No, we've got Sharon. Sharon's here. Sharon Elvins. Would you like to share, Sharon?
I couldn't work out how to unmute the microphone. I'm a primary trained teacher. I've been teaching for 15 years, but for the last 7, I've been involved in learning support as well. So I'm not a classroom teacher anymore as such, but I do go in and relieve prep grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, at all the primary years. So as the other teachers are released for whatever they need to be released for. Obviously being involved in learning support, I do a lot with early literacy and the kids who struggle to get those literacy basics together. And where I'm thinking of going assessment wise is the area of play. I've had colleagues say how children don't get to play anymore in the classroom because the curriculum's so full. And I wasn't sure about this, but something in one of the readings was referring to how you can tweak activities to make sure play is brought into the classroom. So I'm very keen on exploring play. And I liked what Amy said about the risky play, because it just doesn't happen in schools anymore. So yeah, kids need to play.
It's actually risky play. It's been quite a popular focus over the last few years, especially nature-based play as well. It's great. So that sounds great, Sharon. You've certainly got some good ideas there to get to sink your teeth into. So fabulous. And I think Warren has popped a comment in the chat as well. About some team teaching that he did in Japan. I'm not sure if maybe you might, Warren and Angela might want to have a chat about that at some point. There'll be an opportunity later on. Do we have Tammy Fraser? Kamiko?
Hello.
Oh, Tammy's here. Hi, Tammy.
I am sorry. I have a sinus thing going on, so I don't even know how I sound because my ear's blocked. So
you sound beautiful. Perfect. We can hear you clearly.
Start my background. I haven't actually worked for the last 5-6 years, but prior to that, my experience is in working in Montessori Childcare Centre.
Fabulous.
I do actually know Moa. I see there. She was just wearing her uniform. Now she's waving. I did work with her too, and I think my children went in with her in her classes.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So I've been majoring in inclusive education, and this is my actual final unit of my master's. So I guess I want to look at inclusion in the early years context, and then coming from like a Montessori background and knowing how beneficial Montessori is, especially the elements that are helpful with inclusion, like how that can be sort of, I guess, that transitioning into, the early years of school. That makes sense.
Yeah, no,
I haven't had much time to flesh it out.
No, that's
where my
fine.
early
And
thinking is anyway.
that's what this is about,
certain,
you know.
aspects. And that sort of came out. I was looking at my last year when I was doing my research assessment on universal design for learning. So that, I guess, is another sort of layer to add on, like in weaving that in as well. So
definitely.
So that's
fabulous.
where I'm up to at the moment.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, Kamiko. Timna. Thought I saw Timna. No. Okay, Renee. Vivian. Linda Greenwood. Shannon. Madeline.
Hello.
Oh, Shannon's here. Excellent.
Oh, Linda.
Oh, Linda. Beautiful. Linda.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't click it fast enough. Well, I'm thinking of my focus to look at the image of the child in for-profit early learning centres, and how that affects the image of the child in the way that we deliver, I suppose, the National Quality Framework and the Early Years Learning Framework to children, and how that impacts on their education and care. So that was quite interesting to me. So
I think, as I said to you in your email, I think that's an excellent topic. You're in Darwin, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm working in Darwin in a childcare centre. I previously did a Bachelor of Social Science in Children and Family Studies. And then I went overseas and taught in Thailand in international schools for probably almost 6 years. So, and did a bit of postgraduate study in international education, but I really wanted to focus in on early childhood. And learn some new things to take back when I go back to Thailand eventually. So
that's fabulous. Fantastic. My goodness, we have such an amazing, rich, qualifications, experience. Really interesting. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Shannon. Madeline Hipwood.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Madeline.
So I so far in the last 5 years, I've been working as a primary teacher. I've got my Bachelor of Primary Education. Before that, I studied when I was in year 11 and 12, my Certificate 3 in Children's Services, and have worked in a childcare centre before. At the moment, I'm kind of in between jobs. I think COVID finally hit the teachers and so I thought it would be a great opportunity to really get back into the early childhood area. Most of my years I've taught in year 2 or year 1, but I'm really interested in like the kindy setting.
So prior to school. Excellent.
So familiarizing myself in that area a bit more. So I know I'm really interested in the play-based learning and its role in education. I know kindergartens really work around that area. It would be something I want to focus mostly on is the early like kindy program, but I do know there is a lack of the real play-based rich learning in the early years in a primary school though as well. So I'm still fiddling around as to where I want to approach it. But
that transition to school area is a really interesting focus.
Because I find I find it's hard to be able to use the curriculum and really work with the students and where they want to be interested in. It's really a hard fine line to work between, whereas you got such openness in a kindergarten where you can go wherever those children's interests are flaring. So I think I'm still not entirely sure, but I'm definitely in that area of thinking of play-based learning.
Excellent. So you would really be looking into age-appropriate pedagogies, moving into from that, if you're looking at transition to school, so that going from kindy into, where are you based, Maddie?
I'm in Brisbane.
So moving from kindy into prep. So there's a huge what a change for them. And it's,
Yeah.
it's getting worse and worse. Thank
Yes.
you very much, Maddie. That's great. Rebecca Jones, have we got you here this evening?
Yep, I'm here. Hi all.
Hi, Rebecca.
Yeah, I'll be super honest. Well done, everyone. You've got some idea. I've got none. Mine's probably because I have too many ideas. I just need to narrow it down. So I just need a bit more time.
Yeah, that's fine, Rebecca. Yeah, so engaging with the readings and looking through the Padlet at what other people are doing, I think that will be the best idea. So, you know, I have been trying.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'm probably the opposite. The more I look at the Padlet, the more I listen, the more I get distracted by shiny silver butterflies everywhere, and get distracted from my own focus. So for me, it's really about just taking a step back, looking at what's happening in the context that I'm in, and just, yeah, moving forward with one idea, not 20.
Okay. All right. Focus on that one big idea. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay, Eunice. I saw Eunice here before.
I did. I was great. Yep, here I am.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Everyone. I've got so many ideas. I'm not even sure whether they're ideas. So now my biggest one is family participation and involvement. I teach kindergarten. I've been teaching for 8 years. And over the years, I've seen that families are being involved less and less. We'll have parent-teacher interviews and we'll have like 20, 30 families. But as we go on through the year in the programs, you'll only have 1 or 2 coming in. And most of the chats that we have is about how has my child been, any behavior issues. We don't have any, and the conversations we have along curriculum are one-sided. I tend to be the one doing most of the talking. These are some of the things we should be doing. I'm not getting families sharing, and I'm a true believer that it takes a village to raise a child. So I'm finding it one-sided. And another thing, I'm not sure how to link it to my question, is during COVID, when we had the lockdown and some families had to do home schooling, we had a lot of questions from families. What do I teach my child? I don't know how to do it. And we're trying to break down to just the basics. Everything you're doing at home, just explain to them, that's learning. So I'm not sure how to link all that.
So it's basically you're thinking about how to communicate what you're doing with parents, how to get them involved in the curriculum, how to get them involved in what the children are actually learning.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's engagement and communication. Yeah.
And how to get the families to feel comfortable to share,
yeah,
and be a part of the program. Yeah.
Excellent. Again, I think you'll find there's some really meaty research around that. Some fairly good seminal stuff, and more recently as well. So we'll keep in email contact with that. I've got a few things that I can share with you. Excellent, Eunice. Very good. Jade Knight. We've got Jade here.
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Jade.
Hi. So I did my Bachelor of Early Years at Education. I actually didn't get the orientation week email that you're talking about. I got the second email, but I don't.
Did you enroll a bit later?
No, I enrolled really early, so I don't know. I just couldn't find it, but that's fine.
Okay.
Was it just a form or something to fill in?
No, it was just asking for your background and your experience. Pretty much what you're about to tell me now, I think.
Okay, cool. So I graduated in 2013, and I moved straight to London and worked in a reception classroom, so prep aged. And I found that we did so much play-based learning there. Like every day was very like interest-driven, play-based learning, and I loved it. And then I came back to Australia 3 years later, and it wasn't as much like that. And I was quite disappointed. Like it was very much rotation activities after rotation activities in prep. So that's one area of interest I'm looking at maybe doing, play-based learning, and how I guess it differs from different countries and contexts, and what is research based is like proven best practice. But also inclusive education is another really big interest of mine, and co-teaching, and possibly like, I don't know, I've got so many ideas using
So it's about
technology.
narrowing it down.
Yeah, it's really hard.
That I think, as I've said to quite a few of you that have emailed me, that the conceptualization is the hardest part, working out exactly what you're going to focus on. Doing the reading and literature review and writing it up is probably the easy part. Once you've actually worked out what you're doing, it's full steam ahead. So that's great.
Well, I'm
Thank
doing
you.
my master's in inclusive education, so I'm wondering if maybe I should focus on that topic, because
That sounds good, and especially moving into the second assessment task too with your action plan, that's probably more relevant to your career, I think. So that's great. Beautiful. Katie Knight, got 2 Knights. Is it Katie here? What about Carrie? Okay, Anne. Claire. Raif. Tiffany. Did I see Tiffany there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hi. So I've been working in education and care for quite a long time. One of my key role at the moment is around supporting educational leaders to build the capability of their teams to implement the curriculum frameworks. Historically, the EYLF, but now the government has us really kind of moving towards the Victorian frameworks, especially in 3-year-old kinder and 4-year-old kinder.
Sorry, where are you based, Tiffany?
I'm in Victoria.
Victoria, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what, but I feel like I want it to be something that is work related, and that will really help me to help the people that I work with to really work with the Victorian frameworks.
No, that's a great idea. And as I've said before to others, it's linked into your, not necessarily your current work, but it could be what you want to do in the future as well. So it doesn't, you don't actually have to be teaching right at this moment. It can be, looking to the future and thinking about what you might do to implement your particular idea or interest. So beautiful. Sounds good. Okay.
But I'm sure you'll help me with that, hopefully.
I'm here to help. So Raki? Pamela O'Connor? So, yeah.
Yep, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi. I came to early childhood education very early. I did my first course with QUT and then that finished in 1990. So I was actually there when we were Brisbane College of Advanced Education. I was there in the transition to QUT. My career has spanned 30 years and predominantly it's been in an early childhood setting. It has varied depending as we've moved around the state of Queensland and motherhood and things like that. I have taught in all different sectors, so state, private, Catholic, Anglican, and I've been way back when we had the preschool curriculum guidelines. I was one of the education advisors for that for Education Queensland at that time, so implementing that.
Beautiful.
So I come to this with a lot of soul searching last year, I guess, and I thought it must be time for me to do my master's and see where that takes me. I'm with a lot of other people in that I like that butterfly analogy. It's like, oh, there's an idea and that's a great idea. I'm thinking my big question is what happened to childhood? Okay, and maybe looking at the push down effect of the curriculum and the impact that has on children and their development. looking at that sort of aspect. I don't know whether that's feasible. I don't know. I haven't studied for a long time.
Sounds feasible to me. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
so it's yeah, I guess, yeah, the big question is what happened to childhood. And talking about curriculum documents that you've used, I've seen many, and I've got a few stories along the way.
I bet you have, yeah.
Especially when the Australian curriculum came in, it was a very interesting conversation by someone who was actually one of the writers. And I think that's where it all went a bit haywire for early childhood there.
Yeah.
But that's for another day.
Okay.
Yeah, so looking at play-based and the importance of that. I work currently in a school that we're doing international baccalaureate, so we're very inquiry based, but I'd also like to look at, you know, Reggio and age appropriate pedagogies and things like that.
All
so
right,
again, it's very wide and I don't know.
Well, we're going to be doing, you know, we're going to focus quite a bit in one of our weeks about Reggio, and, you know, they'll be looking quite a bit at age appropriate pedagogies as well. So there's something for everyone. Thanks very much, Pamela. That's great. So Pamela Pinnell, pretty sure I saw.
Yes, I am here.
Hi.
My screen is such that I can only see the person who's talking, so I hope you can see me.
Yes, I can see you. That's great. Thank you.
I actually happen to know the Pam who has just spoken because I do a lot of relief work in the same school where she currently teaches. And it's quite amazing. As you know, I've been here before. This is like Groundhog Day because it's COVID. This time last year, I was just getting into this and then ended up having to kind of scooch off and look after my own kids at home.
Yeah.
And also, I suppose, came to starting my master's through a lot of soul searching over many years, and probably very much motivated through, like, obviously having a senior primary teaching background, but then having my own children and seeing them go through kindergarten, and just having the opportunity to be immersed in this world and going, oh, wow, you know, everything should be like this. But then, like, looking back at what I'd kind of chosen as my focus for last year was more like how the curriculum provides for inclusive education, and does it truly do that? But then, of course, coming to this year and going, do I want to still focus on that, or do I want to change my focus? So that's actually something I'm still wrestling with.
Yeah.
And then in one of the readings I was doing the other day from, the Early Childhood Education and Care book, there were a few words that jumped out at me, and it was neuroscience and brain research. And I thought, oh, would I be able to maybe link that into how, like, is the curriculum like truly based on that? You know, and how much I can maybe look into that and how it's linked, because obviously this was in relation to quality. But then, yes, so my brain kind of started turning over about that as well, and what does quality mean in early childhood education, and how can I actually link that back as well? So it's really, yes, come back to the butterfly analogy as well.
Yeah, yeah.
La, la, la,
Lots
it's
of
all flying around.
butterflies. We're being swarmed.
Yeah, but hopefully the caterpillar can, you know, hatch into a beautiful butterfly and come out with some lovely ideas in this area. So yeah,
but you've got
really
lots of things there to focus on. Believe me, it's much better having lots of ideas than absolutely nothing. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Pamela. What about Laura O'Neill?
Hi.
Hi, Laura.
I can see some good overlap with some of the other people that have spoken already, so it'd be good to be able to connect through the Padlet. But my idea is also probably around play pedagogies, but I haven't sort of fleshed out what that would look like. But I'm feeling like there's a constant need to hurry to fill children up with knowledge rather than allowing them to play and engage in authentic experiences and then be able to make meaning through that themselves. So I would like to look into that a little bit further, but I'm not quite sure what that would look like at the moment.
Good start, though. Very good start. Thank you very much. What about Song? running a bit late. I'm not sure if she's here. No. Belinda Provan, I saw your name there, I'm sure. No. Tund, is that how you pronounce your name? Tund, is it Tund? I'm sure I saw you there.
Hi, yeah. No, it's actually pronounced Tundi.
Tundi.
Yeah, it's a Hungarian
Emphasis
name.
on the E. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm sort of new to this early childhood area. I did a graduate diploma in primary a couple of years ago, but I went back to a previous job that I had in the nursing field. So I'm sort of new to all this field. But basically, yeah, for the assessment, what I wanted to focus on would be to just compare the behavior management for the early years as compared to like the primary sector.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't sort of honed it down, but yeah, just wanted to focus on that and how we can make it more engaging. Yeah.
Okay, good. So compare behavior management but over the two areas. Again, that could come into transition to school as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
it might be a good focus to have a look at and to look at some reading from there as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Lalaine. No. Fiona, I think I saw Fiona there. Fiona Schaefer.
Hi, yes, I was on and off again. We've got a storm somewhere near me, so I keep dropping out.
Where
Anyway,
are you?
Harvey Bay.
Oh, excellent. My mum's in Harvey Bay.
Cool.
Great place.
It is, except it's very humid. It's yuck here at the moment. But anyway, enough about that. So I'm looking at doing STEM in a child-initiated program.
Yep.
As in how that can be sustained, introduced and sustained over a period of time.
Yeah, beautiful. So
yeah.
you're in a Reggio inspired kindy at the moment.
Yes, yeah, I'm only part-time there at the moment, doing this full-time, that part-time, you know, a bit busy. Yeah, so they're looking at doing projects in the kindy that I've only just started working there this year.
Yeah.
We're looking at doing projects, and I'm not quite sure how that will work for me, even doing projects, because I'm only there 2 days a week, and the children don't come full-time. So the children I see on Tuesday are not necessarily the same children on a Wednesday. Is a week apart too far, but anyway, that's just personal stuff. But that all impacts then on how that works.
Yeah.
In practice, doesn't it? So
it does, yeah. So I think STEM education in kindergarten, that's a really interesting one. And again, you're going to find lots and lots of research about that. It's an area, and it's a lot of money being put into it as well in terms of research. A lot of ARC funding is going into STEM and in the early years as well, which is great. Thank you very much. Naomi. Tracy Sharples. Katie Small. Natalie Thorpe.
Yes, Natalie here.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi, I'm primary trained, so kind of looking to upskill in the early childhood years.
Oh, yes.
Even though
Hello
I've
from
taught
Lebanon.
childhood years.
Natalie's
Yes, I'm
in
actually
Lebanon.
in Lebanon at the moment.
Speaking from Lebanon. How cool is that?
Yeah, so quite far away. It's only 11:30 in the morning here, so a bit of a time difference, but that works well. Yeah, so I'm here studying my master's for the next 3 years while my husband's working. And something that I've always been really interested in is sign language and how that could possibly be used in the early years to kind of help those little kids who are really quite physical, really hands-on, maybe have some problems with some kind of self-regulation, and how using signs could help them kind of manage that. It could kind of be a good outlet for that. And it kind of started when I had my own children, and I started doing some baby sign with them. And I realized that actually it was a really great communication tool, particularly for my little bouncy son who has, can get quite heightened, and having some signs when he isn't able to have the self-regulation to verbalize what is going on, having some signs to do that is actually really effective. So I'm really looking forward to kind of investigating that further.
Fascinating, Natalie. When you emailed me with that, I thought really interesting. I haven't come across that subject yet, so I'm very excited about reading it. So I'm lucky I get to read all of these amazing papers. So very exciting. Okay, we have Huang. No. I saw her. Maybe she's had to go off. No. Di? Just searching through. No. Louise. I think I saw Louise Verrier. No, just imagining. Yes. Good. I saw your name, Louise.
Well,
Dwi.
Dwi. Yeah. I really get confused because I have no experiment or really come into the early child, but I've just graduated from my bachelor study in 1 year ago, and I just I was a teacher in primary school, but it linked with child care. So I just curious with STEM in early child, because I've focused my master in STEM, and I just want to know how to deliver the STEM in education in early child. But
Beautiful.
I'm still conscious about it.
Yeah, no, that's a very good focus, Dwi. And as I said, I think you will find lots of really good research around there as well. Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing. That's great. Louise, was Louise there? No, we're almost there. Cameron, were you there?
Yeah, hi. I'm just
You are.
finding my
Hi,
notes.
Cameron.
Hi, everyone. I just want to start off by saying I was with Warren last night, so I'm on leave at the moment. I'm a state school principal who's on leave, hence why I'm enjoying a wine. So that doesn't happen every time.
Cameron,
but it does
believe
tonight.
me, I can imagine there's quite a few of you there that have a glass of wine. I personally don't. My cup has tea in it. See,
Yeah,
tea. I would like to have something else, and I will a little bit later, but let's focus
all good.
on the task at hand.
Yeah, let's do that. Look, I was excited, Angela, because you talked about reflective practices to support. Let me go back. Sorry, I'm a state school principal. I'm a primary school principal. I started off as a high school PE teacher and ended up as a primary school principal. So went from one extreme to the other.
So you're in Mackay, is that right,
I'm in
Cameron?
Mackay. Yeah, Mackay. I've got 450 kids at my school in Mackay. It's a low socioeconomic and low socio-academic school. I'm halfway through my master's degree. I enjoy being part of these things. I know a few of us would have talked about it before, about the imposter syndrome. And I look and go, oh, I'm a state school principal, but there's a lot for me to learn, and I learn lots from listening to others. So I feel a little bit of that imposter syndrome. I definitely don't claim to know it all just because of the title that I have at the end of my name. Early years is a little bit new to me because I've come from a primary high school background, even though I've been in the primary school for 6 or 7 years now. But one of the things that I'm going to look at, or hope to look at, is the transition into prep. And I just, while we're sitting here talking, I had a look. So I've got 75 kids in prep this year at the moment, and 10 of them enrolled at the start of this year within the first couple of days of school starting or after school started. So that ends up being 13% of my kids have turned up without a transition program or anything like that.
Okay.
And we don't know anything about them. So I'm keen to dig into how we can do a better job with transition programs and what a successful transition program might look
So
like.
you would be looking at what's currently in place in schools, what they're doing, and
What's working,
Yep.
why it works, and what's not working, and how we can fix it.
yeah. So you'll be looking at the early years learning framework, and you'd also be looking at age appropriate pedagogies as well in terms of
I think so.
supporting
And what's but I still know that we've got a lot of kids out there who don't go to kindy and don't go to pre-prep programs, and how we engage those and get hold of them and help them out and support them in the early years.
Yeah. And do you have a lot of family daycare in the area, do you know? Because that's another area that would be funneling in to prep as well.
We have some, but I still know that the kids that we're missing out on aren't even attending that.
Okay. Interesting. I think that's really worthwhile, Cameron. Very exciting. Thank you. Peter West. No, Leah Wheeler. I saw Leah there. Nope. My imagination. Sure, I saw Leah. Sarah White. Hi, Sarah.
Hi. I'm in South Australia. My experience has been predominantly in the early years of school, but I've done postgrad study and I taught in the university sector too, in the birth to 8 space. I currently work with teachers and educators in birth to 8. So I guess, what I'm missing, I'm a mum myself, but I'm missing, I guess, that deep knowledge of the birth to 4. So I've done a lot of work in transitions and exploring what Cameron was just talking about, actually, the children who aren't counted, the children who are missing, don't have those experiences of preschool or get missed in transition. But my current work at the moment, I'm really feeling like there's been a correction. Well, it's not a correction, I guess, in South Australia, but there was a really strong Reggio reimagining childhood, when I was last in the classroom in 2015. And I feel like it swung really quite strongly, where play is just in peril and there's the rise of direct instruction. And I think it's getting pushed down into preschools too. It feels really significant. So I'm doing some work around the Australian Early Development Census, so the ADC. So I'm interested in, how we can advocate for the children coming through, so that childhood is, I don't know, it's how we all feel about it. Play is protected. We give some agency back to teachers where they can use their knowledge to, speak into the space, because it just feel the rise of direct instruction into the early years of school, but I think it's starting to kind of kick into preschool too. So I don't quite know how to frame that, but yeah, that's kind of where my thinking's at.
Beautiful. No, a really good focus. Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. That's great. Jessica, we got Jessica here. Mark Wrigley, and I'm pretty sure we've got Fanny here. Yes.
Fanny. I'm Fanny.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. Angela, I'm in China now.
Wow. Hello.
But I'm just graduated from my bachelor degrees for early child education last year. So I don't have any occupations experience for me. But I'm really interested in because the Chinese, they have a big issues for the kindergarten is the tendencies of kindergarten educations towards the primary schools. That means the last year for the kindergartens, the child have to learn something just like the basic math and some to know some words. This is the courses for the primary school, but they have to learn it before they enter the primary school. Yeah. So in China, it's for the kindergarten child. They're always, I think they're under for big pressures for them. And in China, a lot of the educators, they just think that these issues is very, it's not very well for their development. So
that'll be excellent. So you're sort of saying, in your email you said that you're very keen to change the status quo of early childhood education in Australia, that in China. That's a big you got a lot of work to do there, but I think research in that area, I think it's really important. So comparing the curriculum documents, I think, and looking at some of the practices, the intentional teaching practices, I think that will be really helpful. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone that I've missed? Anyone that I've missed? No. Excellent. Oh, very good. Okay, so that took a while. It really did. But oh my goodness. I think that
you missed me.
Moa.
Yeah. So hi everyone.
Hello. I'll take that slide back for you, Moa, so you can see what we're focusing on. You just finished work?
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome.
Okay. So I just joined in course just before, so I don't have a lot of ideas. But my main idea is about children who is speaking two languages from different background.
Excellent.
Yeah, but I am a little bit novice in this course because I have studied a long time ago. So it's first time studying English field, especially academic study. So I need your help. Yes, so I'm just building on my ideas, the children who is speaking English as a second language.
Okay, excellent. Be very happy to help you in that particular area. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Moa. And thank you very much to everyone who has shared. It has taken a while, but I really think it was important. And I think I can see the chat going crazy. We've already made some excellent connections there. And I'll give you a bit of an opportunity to talk again a bit later. But just mainly housekeeping things left to go. I want to have a look at the Blackboard site. I think it's really important that I feel confident that you're confident in looking at the Blackboard site and all of our Padlets, and you are fully taking advantage of it. So let me get into Blackboard. Here we go. All right, there it is, Blackboard. So we start off, the first place that you will hit is getting started. I've programmed it to do that, but I'm going to actually change it, and I'll probably get announcements will be where we'll go first from now on, once everyone has had a look at the welcome message. So we'll slide down here. So I'm pretty sure most of you have all introduced yourself here. It's wonderful. So good to see, and some gorgeous pictures as well. Thank you so much for including those. So it's really lovely. Everyone is engaging in that. So unit overview, we have it here, which coincides with the weeks here. And I've actually, in each of the headings, I've got exactly what we're looking at in that week as well. So if, for example, you are focusing on documenting children's learning in your interests, but it's not until, way down here, you can then go and have a look at those resources. I'm very happy for you to skip ahead. Okay, QUT readings, so fairly straightforward. With that, if at any time you can't access something or links aren't working, please contact me. Don't assume that it's just you. It could very well be everyone else as well. And I rely on students to contact me and make sure all of the links are working. And so here we've got our Collaborate Padlet. So this is where you write down all of those insights and understandings that you're making, and possibly as your ideas develop more and more, I think a little summary of what you're doing, very brief. It will be really beneficial for you. Other people might have comments, but definitely email me your ideas and I will very much help you to conceptualize them into a research question. So we're going to be working on that from one week to the next. There'll be various activities and questions that I will give you as prompts to help you think about moving on to the next stage of your assessment task. So we've got our weekly lecture recording. So as I said, I'm going to record the Zoom session, and I'll also record the weekly lecture that we have face-to-face at QUT on Thursday evenings. I will have a think about if I'm going to put both up. I'll probably just choose one, and I'm thinking it will be the Zoom session. But, you know, it's fluid. We'll see what happens. Yeah, so going through, we've got all of that information down there. Most importantly, let's go into assessment. We have got assessment 1. So we've got the description and we have the criteria sheet. Task description is important. Make sure you're on track, but I grade from the criteria marking sheet. So you need to really look carefully at that, and further down the track, we will be breaking that down as well. We have an example of a previous student's work. So thank you to Chelsea for allowing us to use that. Chelsea's work was published. So student, just like you, her work was published in one of the Early Childhood Australia magazines. So that possibility is there. So when you do look at Chelsea's, it was a 7. So she did really put a lot of effort into that assessment. Got where the portal where you would submit your assessment, and then going on to assessment task 2. So it's all laid out, and we've got here a suggested table for the second assessment task. But of course, it's just suggested. You don't have to use it. Assessment item 2, submission. And then I've also included, some of you have said that you need some assistance with your academic writing. I've added lots and lots of bits and pieces here to assist you, and also including first-person reflective writing for those of you that may not have studied for a while and feel like you need to brush up on some of this. We've got referencing, we've got how to paraphrase. So I've just selected quite a few different things, and we've even got a little, if you wanted to do a little workshop with referencing, you can do it there as well, just if you need to brush up on your APA. So these are, I guess, the basics, but if you wanted to go further, you can organise to have a chat to one of the librarians that can talk you through database searching. If you're international or if you're interstate, you can organise a Zoom session. They're very, very helpful, and that's what they're there for. Your fees that you pay for your study, support from the library is all part of that. So make sure you use every single resource that is available to you, and assisting you with task understanding. And I think, you know, in some cases, they'll really help you with your database searching as well. If you, with your particular topic, if you go in, they'll give you a start with that. So make sure you take advantage of it. Any questions about the Blackboard site? I think that's pretty much everything. It's fairly straightforward. Okay, unit evaluation down the bottom. This is something the unit evaluation has been changing and hasn't actually been implemented as yet. I've been told all about it, but nothing's actually happened. So I've got that down there waiting. Okay, so we'll go back to our PowerPoint. And we're going to have a look at the assessment task 1. So I'm just going to go through so that you're feeling comfortable, that you understand it. I'm assuming that you've all had a look at the task sheet. But so it's due Sunday, April the 11th, 11:59 p.m. So this will give you the first week of the Queensland school holidays if you are teaching in Queensland or you have children that go to school in Queensland for your final push if you're currently teaching. So right now, this is where you're at. So you really need to start thinking about that issue, that important issue that's relevant to your teaching context or just to a specific interest that you have if you're not currently teaching. There are some examples on the task sheet. If you're stuck for ideas, you can use one of those if that suits you. You need to think about why this issue is important to you and how does it relate to curriculum and pedagogy. So over the next few weeks, we're really going to start breaking that down: pedagogy, curriculum, and different early childhood pedagogical approaches. So then we need to think about turning that issue or interest into a research question. So again, there are some examples on the task sheet, and this is something that if you're stuck, I'm very, very happy to help you in this area. I work with lots of students in 604 as well, where they have to do their literature reviews and conceptualize their research questions. So I'm very happy to help you with that. So we've got then thinking about critically reviewing the literature and relevant curriculum document. So really breaking down the early years learning framework, age-appropriate pedagogies and other documents that are relevant to your particular area. The task sheet, it's set out in a way that makes the structure of your essay very straightforward. You have headings to assist you in the development and even word allocations as a suggestion as well. So very important, email me over the next couple of weeks with your ideas, and I want you to start a learning journal. Start recording your ideas in your learning journal and the inspirations and insights that you get as you read through your readings each week. So very, very important, believe me, from my experience with students in this unit, and I guess myself when I was doing postgraduate study as well, start now. You really need to get this focus conceptualized as soon as possible. We have some students that week 1 they have something, then they start reading, and week 2 they change it, week 3 they're still fluffing around, and then all of a sudden it's, oh my God, I've got a week and it's going to be due, and panic station. So really try and conceptualize the focus and your research question in the next couple of weeks. Less stressful that way. So hopefully you're feeling, after all of our discussions with each other, you're feeling inspired and not overwhelmed. So I guess there's definitely that expectation in postgrad units such as this one, that you go further and deeper in how you critique and synthesize the literature and your understandings in this assessment task. So it's really important that you complete those readings and really make sure that you share your ideas with each other each week. If you are struggling with an idea, my best suggestion is to immerse yourself in the readings for the next 2 weeks and use me as a resource. Run your ideas by me and I can, say, okay, well, no, that's not really in the right direction. Maybe you need to be looking at something else, or there's limited research in that area, or your topic is too broad. You need to narrow it down. So to save time, email me your ideas and make sure you use the library as a resource as well. Okay, so assessment task 2. So you don't really need to worry about this too much at this point, but it's important that you note that there is a connection between assessment task 1 and 2. So task 2 is an extension on the work that you've completed in 1. So it builds on that first essay. So the first part of the semester feeds nicely into task 1 and the second part into task 2. So it will support the second. So the first assignment, it essentially looks at an issue and unpacks it critically. So your second assignment looks at the same issue, but brings in a few other layers of development. So it's in 2 parts. The first part includes a little bit about your life history, a little bit about your professional history and your career. It also brings in some thinking about your teaching practice, your goals, and your ambitions as well. So it's about where you want to take yourself in the future in terms of teaching and learning. So it's based around an action plan to support your future professional development in this particular area of interest, that the topic that you've explored. So basically implementing it in your current or in your future learning environment. So in your teaching context. For those of you that aren't teaching, it's something that you would need to imagine, you would think about further down the track. For example, if I become an early childhood teacher teaching in a prep classroom, how will I implement this idea or this focus that I've been working on? Any questions at all about the assessment task? Might be a good idea to go away and have a look at the task sheet again, and hopefully some of what you've actually we've been talking about today will make things a little bit clearer. Just going to look at time. Okay, so we've talked quite a bit about curriculum. I'm going to move through to our week 1 readings. So I want you to basically, in the unit, we really encourage you to draw on your own experience and also insights from the weekly readings. So it's not just about the readings, it's about how you relate to them and how you relate your practice to them. So the first reading for the week is a book that's foundational for this unit, Understanding Early Childhood Education and Care in Australia. Chapter 6, Megan Gibson, Context, Policy and Early Childhood Frameworks. That looks at and unpacks the context and policies. So particularly prior to school, a focus on prior to school. It looks at terminology used, the types of programs and services. It's a really nice read, a place to start, especially for those of you who haven't had a lot of experience in those prior to school settings. So we're going to go into more detail about that next week, but this is a really good foundation for you to develop. So the second set of readings from Shaping Early Childhood explored the child as learner. So our understanding of children as learners and how we can view them as unique and capable individuals living in diverse contexts. So how our understandings inform our practice, and I guess it's also about the extent to which developmental theories can influence curriculum decisions. So the readings for this week, as I said, they're sort of foundational. They offer differing views on how to approach curriculum planning and also the complex and dynamic approaches that are utilised in early childhood learning environments. So as part of the pre-workshop activities, your preparation activities, I asked you if you could consider and relate them to your current or past or possibly future educational context. And we had 3 prompts or provocations for you to consider. So recording thoughts and questions provoked by these readings in your learning journal, that was the suggestion. And I wanted you to consider how the points raised in the readings relate to your context, and to consider how these readings might help you with assessment task 1. Is there anyone that wanted to share anything? If you had went through and had any ideas about this, or you jotted something down in a learning journal? Anything that anyone wanted to share?
Angela, it's Fiona.
Hi, Fiona.
Hi, just having a look at the Alwood chapter 6 reading where it's talking about homeschooling.
Yeah.
I was having an interesting conversation with a lady over the Christmas holidays who does distance education, and she's based, I'm going to say Gladstone, I'm not sure, but anyway, she's based somewhere sort of upper coast of Queensland, and she was saying that they've had huge increases in the numbers of students who are doing homeschooling, and they can be students who are living in that town. They just don't attend school for various reasons, most of which is anxiety, etc. So I'm thinking from an early childhood point of view, then for transition statements and that transition, if they're not going to school, they're going to be homeschooled.
Yeah, and this,
work for a transition statement.
Yeah, well, this is what Cameron, I guess, was talking about as well. You know, how, you know, there's such a gap there, and trying to provide for these children and for their families as well, and to really differentiate for them without having any understanding of where they're coming from. It's really quite difficult. And
we even found that some parents, right up until the last possible time I could give them a transition statement, had no idea what school their child was going to.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. They hadn't looked at schools. They just had no clue.
Yeah.
So we had to give them the transition statement and said, please take it to your school. When you choose one, please take it. But
yeah,
whether they did or didn't, we'll never know.
No.
It makes it very hard.
And ideally, and the focus with transition statements, I think in Queensland now, is that it's not just a statement. There needs to be some sort of communication as well between the kindergarten and the prep. You know, it's not just about ticking the boxes. It's about having a good understanding of where that child is coming from and what their interests, their needs, their challenges. You know, I think transition to school is a really important focus, and that has, you know, it's come out in a lot of the literature. So was it Cameron? Was anyone else thinking of focusing on transition to school? I think there were a few.
I think I was, Maddie.
Yeah.
Was that kind of transition between learning from kindy to prep.
Yeah.
I found a great statement in chapter 10 that I think kind of reflects on point 2 and 3 for me, which was making them experiences rather than activities. I thought it's very simple but very powerful, because I find a lot of times we've lost that through, especially by the time we get to year 2, it is about activities. It's that surface learning that I find a lot of us are just working through with the curriculum, where they've lost it. Where in kindy, it's all about the experiences of the children.
Yeah.
And I find that really strong statement, and that I really want to get back to it being experiences, not trying to just make activities that fit to the curriculum that we've lost very much, especially even by year 1, I think, as well. So yeah, I think that would really help me with my assignment and my views on how I want to teach in the classroom, very much so.
Excellent. Yeah, anything else that anyone got out of, especially, I guess, relating to your current practice or context? Any particular insights that you had when you were reading through those foundational readings?
Angela, it's Sarah here.
Hi.
I think one of the things from chapter 6, I mean, I guess we all know it, is how diverse children's experiences are, which is, you know, some of the things you've spoken about. I think, you know, within South Australia, children, they have the universal access, obviously, in the year before school, but there's no 3-year-old kindy, and there's strong advocacy in South Australia for children to access that. So quite often you find children who, I guess, who don't attend like an education and care setting are the children who are most vulnerable and most at risk. It may be a parent choice, but so children under the guardianship of the minister or Indigenous children can attend from 3, but there's a whole heap of children who are missed there. So, you know, it's quite interesting, you know, to hear, I guess, in other jurisdictions what that looks like. So I think, you know, when we talk about children, you know, accessing different settings, and quite often children will access the universal access within a long daycare setting, which can be different in terms of quality or access or, you know, provision of resources and that sort of thing too. So I think that chapter just framed really nicely, I guess, you know, how diverse and divergent children's experience and families are too, of, you know, how their children, you know, experience the time before school.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very much so. I think we, you know, looking at curriculum, all of there's so many different contexts, as you say, they're diverse, and how the early years framework is read by educators and how it's implemented in such varied contexts. It's you know, it is a framework and it's read so differently. It can look completely different from one context to the next. And I think, you know, rural, in terms of rural and sort of remote contexts as well, and also socioeconomic contexts. I think, Cameron, you were saying you're in quite a low socioeconomic school. It would be interesting looking at contexts in terms of early childhood, the provision, how the access that children do have to that, like even in terms of transport to and from school and early childhood settings. A lot of people may choose to homeschool because they just don't have the funds to make sure their children are participating in a program. Cameron?
Angela, sorry to interrupt you a little bit, but we have a lot of, probably for people to consider, we have a lot of kids who don't turn up just because they don't have enough money to send their kids to school with food. So that's a big issue for us, yeah, and I'm sure it will be in many communities.
Yeah, very interesting. Anything else that anyone found particularly inspiring that assisted them in, I guess, moving a little bit closer to conceptualizing that focus for their assessment task?
Hi everyone, it's Sharon. One of the comments, I think it was in the chapter 14 reading, was just a reminder of how different childhood is. And I think Pam made the comment earlier about what's happened to childhood or something like that. And even reflecting back on when I first started teaching, children seem to have changed so much. Their behaviour seems to be changing. The family units are changing. As Cameron's just indicated, some families can't do school because they haven't got the money, they haven't got shoes. You know, times are changing and it's important that we keep up with it. And I think it was reading that made me think about the importance of play. You know, children don't play how I used to play. Bear in mind that was sort of 50 years ago. Times are changing and we've got to make sure we keep up with it.
Oh, most definitely. That's some really, really important points that you've made there. And I think we can make some important connections to ICT as well. I think in terms of early childhood, we're seeing some considerable issues with fine motor skills with students, children moving from kindergarten into prep, and just especially those that haven't had the opportunity to be in a prior to school program. We're needing occupational therapists to assist children with fine muscle development, to assist them with pencil grip and things like that, because they're just not getting those opportunities, as you say, to play or to do painting, to do drawing. So it is a really big concern. And again, it's all part of that transition to school. So a big focus there. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. It's getting quite late, and I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little bit weary. Any final questions for anyone that anyone has? I encourage you to have a look through that assessment task sheet and email me with any questions that you do have. Now, this is what I call the Brady Bunch view. I'm going to turn off the recording, and I'll say goodbye to those of you who are listening to the recording. Keep in contact.